right, you're watching Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Live look at the U.S. Capitol on this Thursday evening. Let's get the latest on what to expect as we anticipate the DOJ to release their Epstein case files sometime within the next 30 days. Fox's Doug Luzader with this report.
The Attorney General says she will follow the law, but not everything here is black and white.
And America is actually stronger than it's ever been before.
President Trump yesterday at an investment forum talking about what he really wants to focus on now, the economy. And last night, away from the cameras, he signed the bill that he saw as a clear distraction. The order from Congress for the Justice Department to release nearly all it has on the late, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. And Congress passed it easily with bipartisan support, but the president suggested Democrats will regret it. Posting on Truth Social last night, this latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats just as all of the rest have. And Epstein, accused of sex trafficking and abusing minors before his death, had ties with both Democrats and Republicans, including the president.
We will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Attorney General Pam Bondi only saying she will follow the law, but she may redact or refuse to turn over some documents, citing ongoing investigations.
We are not done. No way.
Democrats promised to keep pressing for the release. Republicans say Democrats sat on those files for years.
The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time. And not a single one of the people who are so loud and animated right now, they never said anything about it for all those 4 years.
The Biden administration could have released them, just as the Trump administration could have, without this intervention from Congress. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Okay, so let's bring in Claudia Grisales. She's a congressional correspondent with NPR. Thanks for coming on again. The last time you and I had spoken was this past Saturday. We hadn't seen Congress vote on the bill by that point, but here we are now, 2 days removed from a nearly unanimous vote to push this thing to the president's desk. President Trump signing it last night, as Doug alluded to. Claudia, what are both parties aiming to get out of this release?
Well, if we look at Republicans, they're really ready to get this behind them. I think that's why we saw this bill eventually fly through the Senate, for example. In the House, we saw that overwhelming vote of 427-1. And then the Senate decided they're going to pass it on unanimous consent, just a voice vote. So they didn't even have like a formal vote where you record your name and your position on it. It was just clear. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said that from that overwhelming vote in the House, we just need to push this along and get it done. So within minutes, that moved from the Senate to the president's desk. Now, Democrats, they're definitely fanning the flames here. They're seeing this as a political opportunity with the base of the Republican Party pushing for this for months, saying this was a campaign promise, and Democrats are jumping in because it's very correct to say that the Biden administration could have made a decision on this, and administrations before them. That's one thing we heard from the Epstein survivors, their families, their friends who were on Capitol Hill earlier this week ahead of that vote in the House. And they said 5 administrations have come and gone until this moment, this watershed moment, where we're expecting these records to be released, at least according to what this law now dictates.
You know, there's a lot of commentary online asking, well, if there's something in these files, why didn't the Biden administration do something to release them? Is there a common train of thought as to how we answer that question?
Yeah, this case has always been a challenge in terms of its transparency for Democrats and Republicans. And so definitely a major frustration here if we look at the Democratic presidency under President Biden, that this wasn't addressed sooner. Now, we have heard Democrats say there was an open investigation, the prosecution of his confidant, who was convicted for sex trafficking, Ghislaine Maxwell. That was ongoing. But at the same time, that was just for a portion of Biden's presidency. So there was an opportunity there for Democrats to address this. It's one of many things that they fumbled during their administration under Biden.
So, looking ahead here, what kind of substance is going to need to come out of these files in order to give closure to those who have been calling for more Epstein transparency?
Right. We did get a little bit of a preview when the House Oversight Committee, led by Democrats, who picked three very specific emails um, mentioning President Trump, but thousands of emails were released later that day by the Republican-led House Oversight Committee. That gave us a little bit of a preview in terms of what these survivors, their families, friends, and others are hoping to finally see cracked open on this case. One thing I keep hearing about over and over from the members who led this legislation, Thomas Massey, Kentucky Republican, and Ro Khanna, California Democrat, is they would like to see the names of the individuals who were involved, the perpetrators who have not been released, a list of about 20 names. We know, we've heard from survivors say that they haven't been able to talk about this because of legal threats. And so this is something that they are looking very forward to seeing getting released in the coming weeks. They really hope this is going to be part of that document dump that we will see in the coming weeks.
Are lawmakers expecting the release soon? Is there any indication if this will come in days or weeks? Is there any clarity?
No, there is a lot of questions in terms of when exactly we could see these documents released. And for example, when we're talking about the documents that the House Oversight Committee recently released, that's from the Epstein estate. And so it's those kind of level of documents that folks are trying to see more of, that kind of detail. And so the Justice Department does have 30 days. So by December 19th, they do need to release documents. And what I've heard from both Representatives Khanna and Massey is they will be keeping up the heat for the coming weeks to ensure that the letter of the law, this new law, is followed. There's not a lot of exceptions that will let the Justice Department work around this. And as we saw, these two House members are relentless. They worked on this for many months to get it across both chambers and signed by President Trump. In and of itself, just bit of a miracle when we think about what gets done in Washington these days on a bipartisan basis. So I would not be surprised if we see these two members and others supporting them to ensure that the documents that are that should be released are released.
Let's say that these documents come out and it does not satisfy the appetite of those that have been making calls for more transparency in this case. Is Congress or any other power that be eyeballing anything else Epstein related? Once these files are released, will that be the end of the calls for more information? Are there any more places, any other little corners where information or documents could be tucked into?
That is possible. We have heard that from the House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. He believes in the end that the committee will unearth more information than anyone else. There are other agencies. He has had bank records subpoenaed, trying to follow the money that was tied to Epstein and other folks who were involved in this network. And so there could be more information that people will want to see and hear about even after these documents are released. For example, that wave of documents we saw mentioned names of folks that have not testified before Congress, and there is increasing interest to hear from them. For example, Michael Wolff, the journalist who was, most of us did not know, was giving advice to Epstein, political advice. And so there's a lot more information, a lot more witnesses that we're hearing about. And as more documents, more information is released, that's going to lead to more questions and potentially more investigation by House Oversight and potentially others.
Claudia Grisales is a congressional correspondent with NPR. Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. The time in the nation's capital, 8:40. Let's hit a break. Our coverage continues.